Oh my gosh, I even sat on the right side.
Yeah.
This is like our old DBAs at midnight days.
But you're on the left.
I am on the left. This is this is just like we used to do our web show. So, hi.
Hi. How many people we got in?
We have 5,000 now.
I see 13.
Shh. Always inflate your numbers. So.
Oh, 15.
You're not good at this.
No, not
You're out of
really.
practice is what it is. So hi folks, I'm Jen. This is Sean. We are the Midnight DBAs. We are also Minionware. And we're going to talk today about, this is the ultimate guide, as it says right below us there, to SQL Server Management
Oh, look at that.
with Minion Enterprise. I'm going to jump right in since we've been faffing a little bit.
People have had time to get here.
That's right.
Jump right in.
That's right. I find it's actually best to understand what Minion is, because there's not a simple term for it that everybody understands, by talking about the origin story. So when did this come about? Why did it come about? What the hell were you thinking?
What the hell was I thinking?
Yeah.
So, Minion came about out of extreme need.
Yeah.
I was managing 1,000 servers by myself and really needed something to help me with those tiny questions that I get asked all the time by managers, like, can I get a list of everybody in SA in our entire shop?
For those of you who are not full-time DBAs, that's a lot harder than it should be. Especially if you have 50, 100,
Yeah.
1,000 instances.
Yeah. You know, things like, I wonder what the growth rate is on all of my DB files.
Ditto marks.
Yeah. And right?
Yeah.
And how do I set all of these things if they're wrong? And
It's a never-ending list.
how do I check all my backups, like, without going to each server?
So this was
and
a good
having to do it.
while back. Did you actually have to start in VBScript?
No.
Okay,
No.
couldn't remember for
I
sure.
actually started it when PowerShell came out, or when it was still in alpha, really.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, it was still called Monad back then. That was the code name.
I never in a million years would have remembered that.
I don't know how I did. It just stuck with me.
Magical. All right,
No,
so
Monad.
oh, okay, same thing. So you kind of coding in self-defense,
Yeah.
as we are wont to do. I think if you are a DBA, you know, and if you're management or above, ask your DBAs. If you've been in the position long enough, you will start to script and automate things.
Yeah.
So
And it allowed me to do things like monitoring disk space and monitoring check DBs and stuff like, you know, for errors, right?
Mhm.
And stuff like that. I mean, it's a multi-year process, but there were many things that I started to realize that, like, there are so many things as DBAs we have to check, like literally dozens of things that we have to check
constantly.
constantly, right? And there's no way to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I always tell people, you know, security is a two-stage process.
All right.
One of them is really easy.
Okay.
Setting the security is really easy.
Sure.
Making sure nothing after that has been reset or changed to something else, that's the hard part.
Sort of the difference between having a clean, empty house and having a house that people live in.
Yeah, exactly. With
7 kids and 3 dogs.
7 kids, 3 dogs, 4 cats,
All right.
and so on, right?
Now I know that I don't know when your rules for enterprise management started forming, but I know that it was kind of developed in tandem.
Yeah,
So-
they were formalized
Okay.
within the last 3 or 4 years, actually.
I know that the first thing that you teach people, whether it's an individual, whether you're doing a pre-con or what have you, is one server. So I'm going to ask you about that. What is one server? It's not obvious, really.
It's half of 2 servers, really.
Okay, no, seriously. What is the principle of one
Yeah,
server?
well, first, there's a reason why it's the first thing I teach people, because everything else stems off of that.
Okay.
And it is the most important thing in enterprise management. And so I like to give the example of playing tennis.
Okay.
That's my favorite one because it's the only sport I ever really played worth a damn.
Sure.
But it's like when you get somebody who's really good at tennis, or let's say that you're playing somebody who's really good.
Because I don't play tennis.
Yeah.
So I'm bad at it, and that's
Okay.
fine.
So your job as a tennis player isn't to necessarily hit the ball across the net
I thought that was the whole point.
and like ace the guy, right?
Okay.
It's to make him make mistakes.
Oh.
And the best way to make him make mistakes is to shoot the ball over there, shoot the ball over there, shoot it over there, shoot it over there, and get him running from one side of the court to the other.
So that was kind of you every time a manager would ask you something.
Yeah.
You're running over here and you're running over there. And
Yeah, every time you're going to all these different servers, you're here, right? And you're touching all these servers, yeah, you're going to make a mistake.
Yeah. That's...
There's just no way around it. You're going to make a mistake.
And a mistake in databases is like, oops, I rebooted the server.
Yeah, something like that, right? What you want to do is you want to be the guy who's good at what he does. You want to be the guy standing in one place, hitting the ball to both sides of the court, right?
Okay.
So, and then end with a smash right to his face. So, that's what you want to do. So that's what one server is basically. Instead of running around to all of your servers to find out all of this stuff and change all of these things, why don't you do it centrally?
Yeah.
And I always say a good script can make a huge environment into a small environment really fast, right? So even if, let's say that you're scripting your environment, right? Any script that you write should be able to handle your entire shop and down, right? So I like to say, let's say that you have an SP that you need to, somebody, one of the devs writes you and says, hey, I need you to put this SP in this database. You open up SMS, you open up the SP, boom, done, right?
Sure.
Well, if they say, okay, I need you to do it in these 2 databases.
Very
run
similar.
It, switch databases, do it again, right?
Sure.
How about 5? Probably the same thing,
Sure.
right? How about I need you to do it on all 75 databases on this server? Okay, now we got a problem.
Now we got a
Right.
problem, and we would do something about that.
Yeah. 4HDB doesn't handle stuff like that. You can't do it.
As a side note, or rather as an addendum, I often have to try and tell people the benefits of Minion Enterprise, and I don't know how to say this, and so I have to
Right.
say, well, it saves time. Okay, no, it saves masses, just ludicrous amounts.
Yeah.
It's an amount of time that would be ludicrous to sit there and deal with that code for 85 databases, or even better, what is more likely, for 500 databases across some multiple servers.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
and right now we're just talking about scripting.
Sure.
Right? So, okay, great. Now you've got it installed in all 75 databases because your script is good, right? But now, what happens if it's like you need to update to a new version of SP Blitz on all your boxes, right? Okay, or who is active,
Sure.
or
Any of a number of things.
yes, some, right? Well, now it's the same thing. You've got to go across all the boxes and do everything, right?
Yeah.
So, and what happens if you've got something that you have to go across a lot of your boxes and a lot of the databases, right? So it's the same thing, but a good script should be able to say, do it on all the boxes, do it on all the databases, do it on this subset of boxes, on this subset of databases, right? It should be able to handle that
Yeah.
with like a where clause, right? There clause. And that's what one server means, is to you, if I take my script and I install this new SP on a single box on a single database, it takes this much time, right? If I do it on all 2,000 of my boxes and all 40,000 of my databases, it doesn't take this much time, but it takes me that much time.
Right. Because you're treating it as if you have one server. You have set yourself up for success.
Yes, and I can just go to another window and continue doing what I was doing, and then when it stops, right? I mean, I don't care if it takes 3.5 hours to do the update. It's not 3.5 hours of my time, So I'm treating my environment, the way I push stuff out, the way I query stuff,
Yeah.
right? Settings and whatnot, right? As it's a single server, because it is a single script and all the difference is a where clause.
So relating that back to, okay, you're building ME, one server, you're building ME, you're defining that.
Yeah.
So that's what Minion Enterprise is for. That's what it does.
Yes.
Is just the entire. I'll let you talk. I'm interviewing you.
No. Go ahead. I mean, you're doing
No,
fine.
I'm not doing fine.
But yeah, that's exactly what it is it allows you to manage these things and query these things. It's a state management.
Yeah.
I can change the growth rates of all the files in my entire shop like that. Not only that, but I can change all the ones for the 2005 boxes, or all the ones that are on C drives,
Yeah.
or all the ones that are on this, or all the ones
just all of your model databases.
yeah, or just all of my data files, or just all of my log files. I can do all that, boom, just like that. So it's stuff like that, right? I automatically get all of my CheckDB results in, and so on, right? So, yeah, when I have a big shop, I have one server, because I have one place. I hate that phrase, single pane of glass.
You hate it, but I like it because it's overused.
It's just so cliche, yeah.
But this is the first time I've ever seen something where it truly applies. I think that may be why you hate it, because there's a single pane of glass that'll let you address things for this one server and then for this next server.
Right.
That's not what that's for.
And and on top of that, I will say that I do it without dropping any objects out on any of your servers.
That is
it's 100% independent of everything.
That is one of the biggest deals. So I'm going to recap real quick. We talked about how this came about. So you made it so that you could answer questions about everything. And that naturally leads into being able to do things to everything and standardizes it, so it reduces problems and all that. Recapping has made me forget where I was. Hi, I'm Jen. This is what I do.
I don't know. I forgot now.
Yeah, exactly. We had been talking about single pane of glass.
Oh, okay.
But like the comprehensive monitoring. If you actually read the synopsis for this, the abstract, as it were, that's number 2. Is comprehensive monitoring. Mm-hmm. A lot of times when people talk about monitoring, they think performance monitoring, and that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about from a DBA point of view. Estate monitoring. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what I was going to talk about was because we're doing estate monitoring, we can get away with, we're not going to put objects out on all of your managed servers, your production servers. Because we're doing estate monitoring, we don't have to put that agent out there and have it bog down performance, which...
And for people that think that kind of thing isn't as important as performance monitoring,
oh boy.
When's the last time you had an audit and you find out when you send the info to the auditor that you had extra people in sysadmin, or these services weren't running under the right account, or this database
instead of this kind of
is
example,
supposed to have only read-only people in it, and it wasn't. And
I want to get a specific example. I wrote down as a reminder to myself, big gains. So like where do you get the largest bang for your buck, I suppose? And one of those is a specific instance where I think I think the company had purchased it. I'm not going to name the company. It started with E. We don't have an agreement with it.
Now.
It doesn't matter. Not because of us.
Yeah, no
but
kidding.
they had bought the system,
Uh-huh.
installed it. Their junior DBA ran just a quick security audit using our software, using Minion Enterprise. Do you remember how many sysadmins, the count they came back with?
500 and change.
Yeah, it was 500 and change.
Yeah, and by the way, the junior DBA ran that security check with a single SP call.
It's pretty great. I like that. For those of you, again, who may not be full-time professional DBAs, security audits aren't fun, and they are largely manual processes. Depending on who you have as your auditor, if it's an external audit, there is one particular audit feature, security audit feature, that I'm thinking of that I've never heard anyone else do.
Yeah, I know, right?
And do you know which one I mean?
Yes, I do, because you talk about it. Anytime you talk about this, you talk about that.
Then go ahead and tell the people about this particular feature, because, oh my gosh.
It was something I did out of curiosity to see if I could do.
Okay.
Because I just got really, really tired of this. And it's one of those things that people just say, oh, well, I can't use any products because I have to this.
Sure.
Right? And in short, our auditors require us to take screenshots of all of the admin groups.
Hold on, I can hear the sound of dozens of people rolling their eyes.
Yeah, I know. And that's really a lot more common than you think.
Yeah, yeah.
So I wanted to see if I could do it, and I did.
You automated taking screenshots of all of the security stuff.
So and it's very flexible, right?
Yeah.
So what you can do is point it at at each SLA or all of the servers, right? And you can even do all of the admin groups of all of the databases as well. And you can specify a group, or you can do all of them, right? And say, I just want you to go to each one of them, all the sysadmin, all the server level groups, and I just want you to just bam, 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 just take screenshots, and you can choose the location, the naming convention, and if there's more than one screen of it, it'll actually scroll it down, take a screenshot of that second one, scroll it down, take a screenshot of that third one. It's pretty damn good.
I can hear the sound of half a dozen people gasping. Yes, it's true. I gotta tell you folks, I have been a DBA for a very long time, but I primarily have always worked in small and medium-sized shops. I had never even encountered that requirement. And then Sean comes to me and says, look what I did. And I'm like, why? But no, I do remember that
We've
one
had
place.
requests for it since then.
Yeah, and that one place where I don't remember what the deal was, but there were just binders and a whole room full of binders of printed out stuff. We're not going to get into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the product is flexible because it is a varying and ever-changing landscape. Something we did kind of skip over is maintenance. I mean, as DBA, backups and maintenance are such a huge deal.
I wouldn't say skip over as much as haven't gotten to it yet, but sure.
Okay, phrasing, I guess? I don't know. So what does ME do for you in terms of, and I will say real quick, people who know Minionware get our products confused. We have a free suite of backup and maintenance solutions. Minion Maintenance, go get it.
Best on the planet, baby.
Yeah, that can and do integrate with Minion Enterprise. And if you do that, what does it get you? What's the big deal? Not with the backup and maintenance. That's a different webinar. Just what does integrating it with Minion do for you?
Yeah. It gives you centralized alerting and configuration.
Yeah, say it again. Oh my God.
So the alerting I really love because it's all table driven.
Yeah.
And it's a single table, and it is so incredibly flexible for you to be able to say, I want to report on these backups on all the servers after this amount of time.
Yeah.
Except these servers, I want you to do after this amount of time, and I
So-
don't want you to report on diffs for these servers,
Customizable
and so on, and or
defaults.
these databases even.
Yeah, customizable defaults, thresholds, exceptions, just blah, blah, blah. And
all from a single place.
And I've used this in multiple different shops, and yeah, I like it very much.
And the configuration is the same, right? Say you need to you get a new NAS and you need to change all of your backup locations to point to the new NAS. It's a single table update, and Minion will push it out to all the servers for you.
So
One server.
Not to glance over that. So I have a shop. I have 500 servers. I have a bajillion databases. That is an actual number. No, it's not.
It's a Minion number.
It's a Minion number. And they have decided that it is no longer going to whack server 3 backup. It is now going to whack blah-de-blah backup.
Yeah, NAS 7.
So instead of going to 500 servers and updating all of the jobs, I do an update statement on the table.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And Minion literally pushes it out to all the servers for you. Or you can just do it on that subset of servers and that subset of databases. If
Still
you
makes
just
me
need
feel
to
good.
move, you know, certain large databases to that NAS instead,
Yeah.
same thing, right? You don't have to go around to all the servers. It's a simple update statement. Move on.
That's a beautiful thing. And again, when I'm talking to people and trying to give them the short version of, well, the benefits of using Minion Enterprise are centralized control. 2 words does not cover it. And I haven't found a way to bridge between, let's talk about this for an hour, and, well, it's really good though. That's
Yeah.
all right.
See, and I bring this back to the first point all
Sure.
the time, right? One server. That's what that means. That's another really good example of one server. And the alerting.
That's what
It's
I was.
not only highly configurable, but it's a single alert for your entire shop. You don't get, if the NAS goes down and you get 500 databases that don't back up last night, you don't get 500 emails. You get one email with 500 databases in it.
Which I have always adored, because there's not there's not an experienced DBA on the planet who likes alert storming. I can't say nobody likes alert storming, because
There are people that do positive alerts.
I have worked with and worked for and heard of people who like positive alerts. This is a bonus. Alerts should be actionable and relevant. And yeah, so consolidated is good. Actionable, of course, because this is about missing backups or what have you. So, yeah,
And
consolidated.
I had a junior once who didn't really get it as much.
Okay.
And this was the exact scenario. This is why I use this as a scenario, because it's the exact scenario that happened.
Sure.
It was in that 1,000 server shop, and all the databases were being backed up to the same NAS.
Okay.
That NAS literally went down one night,
Okay.
and the alert email came in with something like, "Oh my God, 30,000 databases or some crap in it like that." It was
As you do.
obscene, right?
Yeah.
I came in that morning and he was standing at my desk and he goes, "I get it. I really get it." I had a hard time getting him to he's like, "Okay, well, what's the big deal if you do that?" He's like,
The big deal is we don't have 30,000 emails times however frequently they would be sent.
yeah, yeah.
All right, so we've got our automated maintenance. So we've got our monitoring. What's the big, I don't know. What is the big deal with security? I mean, okay, we already understand one server. We want to get a view of all of our security.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Meh? I'm a good interviewer. This is why I do this.
I'm not really sure I understand the crux of meh.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. All right, so
So
where
ask
have
me
you
questions.
found some of the biggest bang for your buck in terms of what we've done with security in Minion Enterprise?
Right. So, God, we've got so many aspects of it. So,
We don't have to cover them all. We're just
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
hit
yeah.
a couple big hits.
Unwinding all of your AD groups is probably the biggest one that everybody just falls all over, because they're like, "Oh my God, I can finally see who's in all of the AD groups, and get a flat list of users that have SQL access."
I will translate for non-technical management. I'm again not being insulting to management. Some folks are technical, some not. DBAs are responsible for the security of the servers. Period. That's a huge part of our job. Keeping it safe, making sure all the holes are closed, no ransomware, nobody, no accountants can accidentally get into production and whoops, drop the inventory database. But so much security is managed through Windows Active Directory, which we don't have access to most of the time. So we are responsible for something we have no insight into. That's a bad situation. Minion Enterprise pulls in all of that information to your server. This is not a hosted system. This is all on site. And unravels that for you. So you've got a group, SQL sysadmins, and inside that is another group, and inside that is another group, and inside that is another group, and inside that is the accounting group, which is how we got 500 sysadmins in that one, because somewhere along the way, one group got added to the wrong group. With ME, you have that insight, and you're not surprised by it.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Let's see, another one we back up your security every night.
Yeah.
And with all the create statements and drop statements and everything, right? So one of the biggest places that gets used is when people want to like refresh their database in the dev environment and then make sure everything has the right permissions.
Mm-hmm.
They just make it part of their process because it's a simple table call.
Yeah.
Right. And one of my favorites is actually the cloning.
I love cloning users. Yeah.
Because we went so above and beyond, right? I can not only clone a user on a server,
Which is to say, we've got a new DBA coming on, and he should have the exact same permissions as Jill. Boop.
right?
Crum.
But I can clone somebody's exact permissions across your entire environment with the same SID so that we just completely bypass orphan user issues. So they'll get the same login, the same database permissions, the same everything across your entire shop, one server.
Which, again, usually is a rather intense manual process if you manage to get it all right. I don't know that we've ever tried to exactly clone somebody. And that leads to all kinds of security holes because you're like, just give them sysadmin.
Yeah, well,
No.
even if you have another product, and there are other products who, one other product I can think of right now that's copied my functionality for cloning.
Oh, you have admirers.
Yeah, but they don't allow you to do it across multiple servers. It's a server at a time.
And that's the key difference.
And
This
if
is
I got to put somebody across 2,000 boxes or something, that's just, it's still laborious. You haven't hardly done me any good whatsoever.
all right. Those are good security benefits. I like those. I'm going to jump back to some of your rules. So we talked about one server. You want to talk about the more things change, the more they stay the same?
Yeah. People always think that their environment is a whole bunch of completely, I mean, let's say you've got servers all the way from SQL 7.0 all the way to 22.
If you
right?
do, you have my sincerest condolences.
Yeah. But the thing you got to realize is that from 7.0 to 22, all of these SQL installs have more in common than they have different.
Yeah.
They still have sys processes. They still have sys databases. They still have all of these things, right?
They still have jobs. They still have server roles.
Yeah, yeah. So all of these things, they have way more things in common than they do different.
So why is this important as a rule?
Because it allows you to script all of your servers, your entire environment in the same script, just because you may have to handle a few exceptions, right? Sys databases is a good example, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot more in 22 than there is in 7.0, a lot more columns,
Sure.
right? Because they didn't have AGs and
Sure.
mirroring and all that stuff, right? So you can cover your entire shop with a single script still, just with, handling those little individual exceptions for a version. But the more things change, the more they stay the same. You shouldn't have to think of everything as, I've got to have this script on this box and this script on that box and this script on that box because they're different versions. No.
And doing it that way is so much harder to maintain. Consistency, standardization, it makes your life so much easier. Standardization and automation go hand in hand in my mind.
Well, and not to mention that this kind of bleeds into the next one too,
Please?
right? Not to mention that what happens when you upgrade that box? Now you have to upgrade that script.
Yeah. Nobody wants to keep... Ain't nobody got time for that, as the meme says.
Yeah. Or
Yes,
if
I'm
you
right.
even remember to,
Yeah.
right? If you remember to upgrade all the scripts, right? But if I'm running everything centrally, the script is going to automatically notice that this is on a new version and run the proper query, and it'll be done.
It's a good philosophy, and it leads to a bunch of details I'm now thinking about, but I'm not going to get into because we've got approximately 27 minutes left. But yeah, all right, so the more things change, the more they stay the same. And your next one is no one-off solutions, which, as you were talking about.
Yeah, which is what you get into with a centralized product like Minion, right? A really good example I had many years ago. I had this backup job that was failing.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at the routine, and I mean, we had the same routine out on all the boxes, right? But the job was failing, something was going wrong. So I was looking at it, and this one guy said, "Hey, why don't you look at the job steps?" I said, "Why the hell would I look at the job steps? It's the same on all the boxes." Okay, well, after a little more looking around, I finally decided to give the ridiculous a try.
Okay.
And one of the other DBAs had added a job step
No.
that did something weird and messed everything up. I don't even remember what the thing was. It doesn't even matter, right? But he had this one-off solution that he was trying to get around something that somebody needed or some issue that when something else changed, this started messing up. The proper way to do that is if somebody's asking for something specific and you need to fix a bug that you're having just on a specific box, right? You could get it on any box.
Sure.
Is to fix the main routine and push that change out, possibly as a feature so that everybody doesn't have to take advantage of it. Right? To all the servers, and now you're on the same code base and you know what it is and you can troubleshoot it properly instead of I've seen so many times when people have the same routine out on all the boxes and they go inside and make these manual changes inside the SP to suit the environment, and I'm like, oh God, no, that's not, because if somebody comes along and you upgrade that SP or something, right, you're not going to remember those changes. You're going to have to start all over again.
So to rephrase, you could rephrase it a couple of different ways. So you want to cover all of your bases. This is to code universally, but yeah, I like yours better. No one-off solutions, but just flavor.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So we got maintenance, we got monitoring, we got security. How to easily manage hundreds of servers. We have talked about this already. I want to focus in on it again and see what else comes up for us. Because the standard way, the background zeitgeist of being a SQL DBA is the DBA daily checklist.
Right. So this is, I think this is twofold.
All right.
First and foremost, really plays off of the last one again, right? If you one-off solutions, you really create problems for yourself.
Mm.
You got enough problems from your users. Don't create problems for yourself, right?
We gave the general. Are you leaning toward Minion Enterprise?
Go
ahead.
Yes, I mean, not with this one point, right?
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just saying, don't create problems for yourself by having one-off solutions.
Absolutely.
Right? But I just lost the thread.
Scalable management.
Scalable management, right. So the best way to manage hundreds of servers is to not.
Oh?
You want, and this is getting into one of the other ones,
It's
right?
fine.
Is the management dashboards and all. Yeah, I want to be sitting there like Johnny Bench, just watching the dashboard all day, right? My job is not to stare at colors.
No.
Right? My job is to do things, make things happen, solve problems, right? All of these literally dozens of things that I have to monitor and manage and make sure of and check and all that stuff should be done on its own without me even intervening, right? So I shouldn't have to manage these servers all the time. Fix problems every now and then, work on really cool Hatter stuff, right?
Do the things that actually do require your specific expertise.
Yeah, exactly. And let all this junior DBA stuff be handled by a junior script, right? A junior DBA script.
That used to be one of our taglines we'd throw around is Minion Enterprise is like deploying 1,000 junior DBAs out into your system. It didn't have a ring to it.
Yeah, but that's really the best thing. And Minion is so incredibly customizable and so incredibly flexible that there's practically nothing you can't monitor.
Yeah.
with just a tiny bit of effort, but you get your entire shop,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes it's a lot of effort if it's something that like we didn't even think to put in a product or something, right?
But then you come to us and we go, oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, it also depends on the level of effort you want to put into it. You can put in almost no effort at all.
Yeah.
Or if you want to put in Minion level effort, then, take a couple months and write the thing and make it really, really flexible and all that stuff, right? Upload it to our community zone so everybody else can use it. And
Okay, so to put this a different way, and man, for my experience with this, going from, being a DBA the old school way, I suppose we could say, to using ME, once I got into it, there was such a massive difference. And then I talked to somebody else who had changed jobs from a place where they had purchased Minion Enterprise to a place where they hadn't. And they were just, I was like, oh my heart, because suddenly being able to just hear about, you're approaching the threshold for this this drive on that server over there, and the consolidated alerts, and just being able to query for almost anything. We haven't even talked about the indexing. That'll be next. But yeah, getting all of that information with a query was just like, I'm hearing music in my head and dancing down hills like Sound of Music here.
yeah, and people that end up leaving those shops, you're right. I've gotten emails from them too, and they're just like, dude, they're killing me here. This is death. I don't know what to do anymore because I'm spending all my day just on this garbage.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, dude, if they won't buy it, I guess start scripting. But man, and
that's true.
And that's the thing that I've said just a million times. Any DBA who's been in this position long enough does begin to automate. They begin to script these things out. The difference between that and Minion Enterprise is simply that we made it a full-time job and obsession. So, it's not necessarily that all of this is brand new to the DBAs. We get people at conferences that'll walk up and be like, oh, I've already scripted that. Awesome. Then you'll understand these other, 400 things that we also scripted.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Everybody always, I get that more often than I should, right? I already do everything Minion does. And I just, no, you don't.
We're DBAs. We're a very proud lot.
Yeah.
Which I understand. All right, so
because I've been doing this product for way too long.
This there's a tiny little hint of bitterness in there that'll lead us right into your next rule, which you've got down as "you're not special." Sounds vitriolic, but there's a really good point behind this. So, what does that mean?
This is
other than being something you angrily shout at, people in shop.
Yeah, or just people at Walmart.
Yeah, fair enough.
So what that really comes down to is teaching DBAs about their maintenance.
Okay.
Because we teach at a lot of SQL Sats and a lot of other conferences. And one of the things we hear the most, especially when we talk about maintenance, right?
Yeah.
Is, my database is just too busy for maintenance. Our business unit won't let us take the time because we're 24/7 and we're just too busy.
I always, when I hear that, I drive my car way too much to get the oil changed or the tires checked.
Yeah, exactly.
Ugh, that's a bad idea, brother.
And so, I try to tell them you can't change database math.
Mm-mm.
No matter how busy your business unit thinks they are, may or may not be, right?
They may be.
You can't change fragmentation and reorgs, right?
You absolutely cannot change corruption.
Yeah. So you can't change this stuff. It's gonna happen. And the question is, do you want to do it now or in the middle of a Monday morning when everybody's coming in, or at the end of the month when the monthly reporting is due and nothing is moving whatsoever?
Or inevitably when you're on vacation and then you're going to get called back in, or it's the holidays and you get called back in.
Yeah. I equate that to, I'm too busy to have a heart attack. Well, that may be true, but you won't be.
Yeah.
If it happens, You will stop what you're doing. Business will stop, and you will have your heart attack.
So PSA, schedule your heart maintenance, folks.
Yes.
Also your database
yeah,
maintenance.
kinda, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I tell
a joke.
people, you're not special. I don't care how busy you think you are or how busy you actually are. Your database is not special. It needs maintenance. Period. So there's no way around it. So stop thinking that you're special and schedule your maintenance. End of discussion. That's what that one's about.
Nice. All right. So we've automated, we've standardized, we've scheduled our maintenance.
I have.
Now, I already said that we are not a performance monitor, and we're not. Minion Enterprise is not a performance monitor, but you can't be a DBA without at least touching on some of these things. And so we have...
It doesn't mean that some of the things we gather aren't performance related.
Right.
We just don't do CPU graphs and crap.
if nothing else, I mean, Adam, we've got the servers, we've got the hardware information, whether it's on, VMware, I almost said hyperdrive. Yeah.
Hyper-V.
If it's on a hyperdrive, we'll tell you. RAM and all that, but we
The
pull
power
in...
plan.
Yeah, the power plan. Quick story about that one. My last full-time gig, I had seen power plan in the list of massive amounts of information that we already had, and I was like, oh, look at that. I'm going to go ahead and do an alert to let me know if any of the servers changed power plans, because it's important. Performance takes a nosedive if you go on like a balanced plan.
Or if somebody puts in a new server without it or something.
Right. And so I told one of my guys about it, one of my Windows guys about it, and he was like, oh, no, I always put it on high performance. And I'm like, cool. And I put the alert up anyway.
What if somebody else sets up the server, dude?
And then like a month and a half, 2 months later, I go back to him and I say, hey, server 83 is on a balanced power plan. And he was like, how? I don't track who does it. I just need to know. I just need it changed back. That's all.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love that. Performance optimization, we pull in all of your index information. We actually pull in all of the information about your databases, the objects, the indexes, all of that jazz. But what we've done is we put in a set of utilities around the indexes, as well as a bunch of other things, to say, all right, here's a report for all of the heaps, all of your tables that have no indexes. Here's the ones with duplicate indexes. That is a lot more common than you would think. To have duplicate or partial duplicate indexes where one covers another one, that's double or triple the writes that you need to be doing. Anyway, and then of course missing indexes with always the caveat, don't ever take any recommendation of here are the missing indexes and just throw them. Indexing is an art. But we've made it easier in the sense of you could do this potentially across your entire environment and see where the problem ones are.
Yeah,
oh, look at that.
Goods, unused indexes.
Server 4 has, this many clustered goods and this many this and this. Maybe I'll spend some time on that particular server and database. So yeah.
I hesitate to tell you the new thing I've been working on.
Tell me later. We'll have that as like a write us and you can say, tell us what Sean's working on, and we'll be like, yeah, okay, we'll tell you.
But it's very much in the same vein of indexes and management and stuff. It's really cool.
Interesting.
And
I haven't heard about
guarantee
this.
you, nobody else has done it.
All right, I'm going to be looking forward to this. All right, so...
I've got an alpha.
All right, and if you want to test it too. We have about a little over 10 minutes left. One of the things that I'm putting together is a starter pack. And I know you and I have talked about this a little bit, but this is the first time I've mentioned it to anybody else, because we want more people to have hands on Minion Enterprise, and because it's a lot easier to show the higher ups, look how great this is. We want to get, say 3 instances in your shop for a very, very low price with a couple of other benefits. And so that's something that you should absolutely write me about.
Licenses with benefits.
Excuse me. Licenses. Licenses with benefits. I'll put up a post on LinkedIn and on the Twitter, the site formerly known as Twitter, and a couple of other places, and you can respond back to tell me if you're interested. But yeah, we want that starter pack to be, an easy access, an easy way to cover 3 of your instances, so that you can really see the power of Minion Enterprise and you can experience this for yourself.
So, I don't want to get out here without talking about that last point.
Yeah, absolutely. We've
'Cause
got time.
Yeah, I find that again extremely important when you're writing your own processes, whether it be a PowerShell script or just an SP or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the concept of life cycles.
Okay.
And absolutely 100% almost
Nearly.
nobody ever codes for this. And you see it in all the products out there. So I'm going to say nobody does, right? And the thing you've got to realize is that almost everything is a life cycle.
Okay.
So I ordinarily start with backups, but let's start with an archive routine and then go into backups, right?
Okay.
So let's say I write this SP to prune data out of one of our big tables.
All right. You got an SP, it prunes data out of the tables.
Yeah. That is an event.
That's the thing that happened. We did
It
that.
happens on a schedule every Saturday, boom,
Cool.
right?
Now we're all done.
Now we're all done, right? That's the life cycle. No. But the problem is everybody looks at that as an event. But the life cycle of that is so much more, because whether I'm copying it to another table or just deleting it doesn't matter, right? What happens if you get a call on Saturday night and they say everything's really slow and you look in there and everything's blocked to hell, right? How do you know if it's your process or not?
Who is active?
Right? Yeah. Or if you don't find out about it until next Monday, right? When you come in and go, man, things sure did slow down a lot. Do you know what that was? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was about the time that my pruning kicks off, right? So, are you logging how many batches you're doing per cycle, right? Are you logging how long that took? Are you logging the start and stop time of each one of them, right? So, by doing something simple like logging all of that information, you've given yourself a life cycle in that now I've got a troubleshooting life cycle, right? And oh, well, you know what? I can see that each one of these was done in batches of 10,000, and maybe I should increase it or decrease it based off of whatever issue we're starting to see.
Sure. If there's a lot
Right.
of blocking, we might decrease it.
Yeah, exactly. So, the life cycle of this process isn't just the event, it's the event and the troubleshooting and the data that somebody says, well, how much data do we tend to delete at a time? And I'm not talking about the cycles, I'm talking about total, right?
Sure.
For a total run, right? Do we tend to do like 1.5 million? Or do we do 20 million at a pop? Or do we do 17?
Is it more in Q1 or in Q2?
Yeah,
And so on
exactly.
and so forth.
Yeah. So being able to answer these questions and being able to troubleshoot is part of the life cycle of that service, right? Of that SP, of that process.
Okay.
Backups are the same way. It can be a little more complicated with backups, but every product out there looks at backups as an event. I created a backup file, I am done.
Yeah. There's a
But-
problem with that. Now you
yeah.
have anyway.
Yeah. But what about initializing replication or AGs or mirroring?
What about just the backup, and how long did it take, and how big was it, and how much did it compress,
Yeah.
and when do we want to get rid of it, and do we have, and so forth and so on.
Yeah. Was it moved to a different location, right? Does the backup routine copy it to a different location, or does it move it to a different location, or
What were the different options used in the backup statements? We
How
are
many-
all for logging these things.
yeah, how many buffers did it use? All of that, right? What size is it on disk in an easily findable format, right?
Yeah. It didn't used to really make sense to me why you called this a life cycle, and it's clicked a lot better now. In that same way, even at a very basic level, like I read this book that talks about, among other things, cleaning house. You clean your house, and now it's clean. that's not how that works. It is a continual cycle of, okay, now
If
we're
you
going to
draw it on a circle with the arrows, right? It's clean, dirty, cat, dog, thing, eat, sleep.
Well, and it's not a state of being. You never finish the laundry because I'm wearing clothes right now. It's not, a pass-fail. It is an ongoing process that circles and circles. And that makes a lot more sense to me now, that same thing of not just an event, but all the things around it, and it's going to loop back around again.
Yep. Like, a question that I get asked quite often is, how much do the backups for this server, how much do all the backups for this server take up on disk on the backup drive? I mean, that's an important question to answer sometimes.
And it would be a little bit of trouble. It would be a fair amount of trouble, actually, to find that just off the top of your head.
Yeah.
But with Minion Enterprise and integrated with backup, you could just query that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can tell them how much every backup in the entire shop takes, regardless of where it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's a life cycle, and I train my DBAs to think of things in terms of life cycles, right? Not only that, but back to the individual SP, and we've got just a couple minutes left, but to the individual SP, I've got a set of coding rules too, right? And one of them is code for features, not functionality, right? Functionality is something that an SP can do, right? A feature is a way for the user to turn that on or off based off of a parameter that they passed in, right? So you don't have to change the code, right? And that in itself can be part of the life cycle. That's how you can manage the life cycle, because maybe I want this SP to save its data to a table this time, and maybe sometimes I want to look at it. Maybe I want to just pull up help on it instead of having to give everybody the rights to view the SP to see how it works, right?
Yeah.
So that's part of the life cycle with the end users. Even is anybody ever going to want to use this for this? Are they going to want to use it for that? Are they going to want to use it just query help off of it? Are they going to want to set it in a job to run automatically and log to a table that prunes itself and so on?
And thinking and working in this way actually takes practice, which I
Yeah,
suspect is why we have to wind up taking an hour to explain the concepts behind Minion Enterprise and why it's a big deal. Because it is actually a new philosophy of DBA-ism, of a holistic, I suppose, approach to DBA work, as opposed to, I'm going to do these 5 steps, and then I'm going to do these 5 steps again on the next thing, and then I'm out of time, and I can't do any innovation or studying.
Yeah.
So,
You wanted to talk about no.
I wanted to talk about no. Oh, I better not. I have a note here that actually says, be sure to talk about no. I clearly got interrupted in the thought. So we're at the end. Let's do a recap, and what they say in marketing is a call to action. Very, very quickly.
Go online, give me money.
I mean, you can. But you can reach us. You can search for Minionware on LinkedIn. That's totally us. I will put some links in this recording, the comment description thingy below. You can reach me, Jen at midnightdba.com or Jen at minionware.net, either one. I lost my mind because I tried to say them both at the same time. So...
Minion DBA.
That's not a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. Minion Enterprise provides automated maintenance, comprehensive monitoring, the advanced security insights, scalable management, performance optimization. But it does so in this way that gives you a comprehensive view, the single pane of glass, the understanding that your environment, your estate is, what do we say, one server, and so on and so on. So, definitely write with questions, comments. If you're watching the recording of this, that still goes. Write me about the starter pack if you have any interests at all. Yeah. Got any last minute things, Sean?
No.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I talked about it.
You did. You talked about no. I'm going to glance at the chat. And the chat has been absolutely mesmerized. That's how we go. So.
Way to be.
All right. We will see you online, peoples. Thanks for coming.